Hello, my students. So, I'm going to go over your second drawing project with you here, okay? What you're going to do for this project is you're going to take one of your 12 drawings you did last week, preferably the one that you had the most fun doing or the one that you think is most interesting or cool, okay? And you're going to use that drawing as an inspiration for a larger, more complete artwork this week, okay? I will go over a couple of examples of how you could do that, but really you can do it however you want as long as you spend a good amount of time making it into a complete project, okay? So as far as grading goes on this project, it's similar to all the other art projects, but you're going to be graded on your artisanship. So do you keep the paper clean? Is it a nice sheet of paper? Like you didn't crumple it up, you don't have like smudges or food or whatever, you kept it nice, right? That's part of it. Your creativity. So a big part of creativity on this project is, did you compose your drawing well? What I mean by that is a bad composition would be, let's say you were drawing a Xbox controller and you just took that Xbox controller and you just stuck it smack dab in the middle of the page, so it's just completely centered there. You want to have things kind of off-centered. You want to have things going on in the background that make it interesting but don't distract from your main object, okay? You can use something called the rule of thirds, which I'll post a little document about how to use the rule of thirds to compose an image well, okay? And then you also want some variety in that artwork, okay? So you don't want to have all the lines be the same thickness, so you could do thicker and thinner lines, or if you're doing a more naturalistic or representational drawing, a lifelike drawing, you want to use some good shading to really represent those shadows and highlights if you're going to do color, you want to use a variety of colors, not just like two colors or whatever, unless you use lots of different versions of those two colors. Whatever it is, you want to make it visually interesting to look at, not just a simple line drawing of your object. Okay, that's not enough. Unless you go super crazy detailed with that line drawing or something. You know, do something to make it interesting. Finally is your rigor follow-through, which first off, always follow-through is, did you finish, right? Did you make the project, right? A second part of rigor is, did you challenge yourself, as in, did you fill the page? So you have a piece of paper, okay, printer-sized piece of paper. You need to fill that page. So you can do that in one of two ways. You can zoom in on your object that you're drawing so that the object fills the whole page, right? So you have very minimal background stuff, or maybe the object fills the whole page. It's zoomed in so much that it fills the whole page, and you make it interesting that way by drawing the details of what you see. Or if you're not going to zoom in, if you're just going to draw the object how it is, then you add things to the background. So maybe you draw what you see around the object if you're doing lifelike, or if you're doing something abstract, you add stuff to the background. But you need to fill that whole page. It's an artwork. It's not just a sketch, okay? So if you're still feeling lost about what you're going to do, let me give you 3 examples of how you can go about this, okay? So example number 1 is, if you liked drawing it representationally or lifelike, or if you just want to get better at doing that, you could use this as an opportunity to just do a lifelike drawing of your object. So you would pick the small inspiration one, would be the lifelike one, and then you would draw it lifelike. You would use your pencil to do your shading and your highlights, and you would draw a lifelike version. So that's one option if you want to go that way. Another option, option number 2, which this is the option that I chose for my example, is you could do an abstract version. So maybe you use your geometric shapes one, or even just any one, but you abstract that. So what it means to abstract an image is to break it down into its shapes or into lines and colors, and just you're not trying to make it look lifelike. You're trying to make an abstracted version or a broken down version of that. Let me really quick show you really fast here in this video what I mean. So this is mine. So I did that Chandra doll. Let me grab it really fast. I'm going to shake the camera a bunch to do it. But if I was doing this project, I would have used this Chandra as my object, and then this is my abstract version of the Chandra. So you can see similarities, the eyes and the hair I made into triangles and stuff, and then you can see the goggles and stuff. But it's definitely abstracted, okay? Another one that you could do, if this is the type of art you like doing, or if you just want to practice this or get better at it, is you could do a cartoon or illustration version. So we made the cartoon version. You could use that cartoon version that you did and just make it bigger and add more to the background or whatever. Or you could do a different cartoon version or whatever, but more illustrative, where it's to look cartoony. And illustration uses really dark, thick lines, right? And then if you do illustration in the background, you could use your imagination to add stuff, as long as it goes along with your drawing. You wouldn't want to, for instance, let's say have a cartoon version of, let's say you were doing a statue of an owl, and you did a cartoon version of an owl, and in the background all your stuff looked like it was from Simpsons, but the owl didn't look like it was from Simpson. Then that wouldn't work, right? And I'm not saying you need to pick a cartoon style. You can just use your own style or a random style, but you can do a more cartoony illustration version. So those are 3 examples of how you could take this project. Again, just using one of your little drawings as inspiration to make a bigger artwork. But you could go any way you wanted with this, okay? You could do like a Zentangle version, but you need to make sure your Zentangle version is detailed and you use the full 3 hours that we have in class, okay, to work on it. You could do, there was one, I'll try to make an example of this, but a girl is doing a drawing of a pot with some twigs coming out of it, and I did a drawing of that to help her out, and I realized if you turn that drawing upside down, it actually looked like a jellyfish. So hey, you could take, let's say you have one of your drawings and you look at it and you're like, hey, that looks like this, and so then you use your little drawing that you did as an inspiration to make something completely different, you know. If you've got clay at home and you want to spend some time sculpting, go for it. You use your clay to do a sculpture of an inspiration from your thing. Really, you can go any direction you want with this. I just want you to be using your creativity, using some drawing skills or other art skills to take inspiration from one of your little drawings to make a larger printer paper sized artwork for this week's project, okay? Really fast before we go, I mentioned this briefly, but you should be spending about 3 hours on this. That's how much time you have in class. 3.5 hours, okay? I'm going to post for each day a Kickstarter that you should spend like 5 minutes on, just answering the Kickstarter. But then you should spend the rest of your time in class watching this video and then working on it. That 3 hours includes your sketching and your planning and any tests that you do. I did a lot of color tests with markers, and I did a lot of sketches, a lot of tracing of my drawing from one paper to another to keep it nice and clean. But you should put a lot of work into this. I will be able to tell by looking at it whether you spent 30 minutes on it or whether you spent a couple hours on it, okay? So make this a fully fledged artwork, okay? Good luck. I'm really excited to see what you all come up with, and yeah, we'll go from there.